Okay, just up from the orchard on Ware Mountain are these graves of John Hoover, and it's believed to be his wife next to him. John is on the left here as we're looking at this. These are the footstones down here. Those are the headstones up here. And on the back side of John's, it actually says J.H. died March 7th, 1845. And because of the way the sun is, I'm going to dub in a picture of it so you could see that. So they were some of the earliest settlers on top of Ware Mountain here. Ware Mountain lies in between the Elk River and the right fork of the Holly River. It's pretty close if you came off on the Elk side to Centralia in Braxton County. Okay, the Hoover grave coordinates are north 38.63797, west 80.51993. We're going to drive from the Hoover grave sites right down to the orchard. Beautiful spring day. Stop momentarily here and just show you, if you look at this right here, how small the poplar trees are, 12-14 inches at most, and all this moss under here. That's because, and I can vouch for this, 35 years ago this was just a field up here still. Okay, this area that's cleared, which is much smaller than what it was, is what's known as the orchard here. This place right here was, based on the type of foundation stones that are in here, was one of the house sites. And I do actually have a picture of what this looked like at one time. It may be some houses that were a little bit further over than this one, but there was a farm here. So there's not much left of it. The author John Davison Sutton wrote a book about the history of Braxton County in central West Virginia in 1919, and in that book he mentioned that John Hoover was one of the original settlers in this area here, and they created a peach orchard originally, and then it became an apple orchard, and then a bunch of Wares moved it onto the hill here, and it's been known as Ware Mountain ever since. That grave we're at is just up there at the high spot. So we're going to metal detect here and see if we can find anything interesting, any remnant. This is an old grainy photo that's the same as the painting that you just saw earlier of the farm on Ware Mountain with the orchard at the bottom. And now this is a 1910 topographical map. The orchard is at number 2. The circled area number 2 there, and the number 1 area is another place on Ware Mountain where you could see more houses. Old house sites were there, so we're going to go there a little bit later, but we're going to focus on number 2 now. You'll notice this remnants of an old bucket here. I think people last lived here in the 40s, maybe the 50s. Yeah, so it's coming along here. I noticed just barely laying on top of the, or in the ground, as you can see the depression there, this old bottle, heavy bottle. Looks like a pop bottle perhaps. Yeah, it does have writing on it. We'll try to decode that. 16 fluid ounces. It's an older type of a bottle. That's a promising signal there. We'll dig that up. Showing it's close to the surface. Boy, when I was digging this, I thought it was a silver dollar. Stainless steel. You know what I think it is the back of a watch case, a pocket watch case. Actually read something carved on the inside here. It's going to be hard to see. HB Ware. There's a number underneath of it. 3, 5. Looks like it keeps going on. And something else. I'll have to, if I find someone what HBW means. It's probably someone's name since this was Ware Mountain. I'm going to guess Ware, HB Ware. We'll see what I can dig up on that. Okay, here's a view of the inside of that pocket watch case. You could clearly see the HBW and the number. It's hard to read, 35955316. And here's the back side of what that pocket watch case looks like. We figured out it's Herbert Barton Ware that lived up there. He's on the far right in the photo with his family. This is him again in sometime in the 30s. Again, he's on the far right. That number, as I found out, was his World War II service number. You could see it's the same identical number circled here that's on the back of his case. Here's Herb and his wife, obviously, much later. And right next to this old maple that's got some rot in it. Unusual piece of metal here. Machinery or something. It's junk. We got another remnant of an old bucket. It looks like it's some type. Right there's where the handle would have attached. Just rusted in the ground right here. Okay. 8 to 10 inches down here, look what we found. It's an old lock of some type. I have to clean that off. Wait a minute, I can see something. It says Yale. It's a Yale lock, so we'll have to investigate how old that is. Okay, here's that watch we found. It's a Yale and Town watch made in the 1890s to 1910. That first picture is when we just got the mud off, and this is after I've done some really heavy cleaning on it to show that it's made out of brass. And here's a photo off the internet showing one in pretty pristine condition. By the way, we're using a Garrett Ace 400 metal detector here and a Garrett Pro Pointer 2 pinpointer. And it's just a matter of time till I find one of these. This is one of those zinc canning lids with the porcelain liner, the porcelain to stop the food from getting contaminated by the zinc. It's actually a piece of pottery that was also in that hole. I'm standing in the old house here. This is Harrison Mollahan Ware's farm. I believe this pile of rocks right in here is where the chimney was. It's all covered up. There's a lot of nice cut stones piled up right here. I believe this dead snag here is a remain of one of the original old apple trees or even a peach tree. This about 8-inch hole here, we found Harrison Mollahan Ware's old axe head buried way down there, right behind the house site, which is where that mess is and that dead snag is. Pretty heavy. Here's Harrison Mollahan Ware that had the farm, and his son was that Herbert Barton Ware, whose pocket watch casing we found. There's Harrison again on the far left. And here is Harrison on the right with Elliott Ware up on Ware Mountain. Now this is some drone views. That's the Elk River Valley that you're looking at there. We're directly over top the orchard on Ware Mountain, elevation about 150 feet above it with the drone. And so we're just panning over the Elk River. That's the old main road that led up on Ware Mountain. And now you're starting to see the orchard itself, or really what's left of it, that kind of open area in there. There are a few apple tree remnants still in there. That whole area was a field at one time. Most of the trees are those small 12, 14-inch poplar trees that tend to grow back after a field hasn't been taken care of. And just for scale, you can see me and my side-by-side. Again, we're just panning from the Elk River side over across that little open area in there that was the orchard, as well as that house that's in the painting. It's moving on over towards the right fork of the Holly River side. Now this is an 1897 map. The arrow on the right is the orchard. The arrow on the left is where we're going to go to. Okay, we're over closer to the Ware Cemetery and the houses that used to sit over here. And on the old maps, more houses were over here than over where the orchard was. These logs that have rotted down to the ground here is the remnants of the old barn that sat right here. And we were metal detecting not just a minute here and had a signal, which I suspected around a place like this. It's one of those zinc lids again, but it's actually attached to a broken jar. And let's see, I could actually, I screwed off the lid from the jar, the top of the jar that's broken off there, and you can see the porcelain on inside that zinc lid. That would be expected around a place like this. Could be wrong here, but this could be the old skull on top of Ware Mountain. It was a small building about this, like that isn't 15 feet by 15 maybe, 15 by 20 at most. You can see here's a corner right here. The upper corner's gone. There's a corner there near that big poplar tree. Then there's a corner buried down here. In the picture of it that I've seen, the door was right in the center here, and sure enough, right where I was metal detecting, kind of looks like an old part of an old hinge. Not 100% sure, but based on the holes that are in it, or just a piece of bent metal. I don't know. But that's interesting. That's right here in front of where I would have guessed the door would have been, if this is the school. They actually had a little school up here. I'll set that there. Let me just walk out here. You see through the woods there. I talked to the owners of this camp here just a few days ago, actually. I wish he'd have been here. I could ask him where the old barn was in relation to his camp there, as well as the school. It's all grown up, obviously. Remnants of an old bucket here. Those seem to be everywhere at an old farm. And then there's rock piles all over the place where this was cleared off at one time. And you see the old fence post. Another old fence post here. Right there's where that skull structure is. If that's what it is, or the barn, one or the other. Tin bucket there. Fence post here. It's about 40 feet away from that other one, that other row. So I'll take the fence post in here. These are pretty big rock pile. You see more of the fence post here. There were several families up here. A lot of fence posts right here. Look at how that tree grew right out of the rock pile. They've lived up here for, let's see, 170 some years people been up here. For West Virginia, that's a long time, especially for this neck of the woods. That John Hoover that died 1845 will tell you he was living up here the time he died. It's 180 years since he died. This looks to be an old walnut tree that just died, got choked out by some of the bigger trees. Yeah, that's walnut. Another rock pile right here. So we're back over to the barn. Look at that. That's about 8 by 8, maybe a little bit larger, 10 by 10. It's a V. It looks like something that'd be on a plow to dig a ditch to plant your seeds, or just to plow the ground. So this may have been the barn as opposed to the school. Well, since a metal detector looks at the type of metal as well as the shape, I got fooled by that bottle cap. It has a red West Virginia on it, and above it, PPPP. Whatever that is. Okay, we've departed that barn site or school site past the camp, and we're going to drive up to the Ware Cemetery. They put this cemetery on the highest point here. Two old pine trees right there and right here. You could tell I've been here a long time. Right at the mouth of this cemetery. Ware Cemetery. This is Ware Cemetery on top of Ware Mountain. They put the cemetery on the highest point possible. I think there's only one that you can identify. And I'll put her information, I think 1912 to 1935. She's a Ware, Luverna Ware. Now that stone was made after the fact out of concrete, and it's starting to wear away. There's a few others here, sadly. This is a Ware N. Who knows what the rest of it is? N-O Ware. I don't know. This metal one years ago, where I'm walking into the depression here, it had a piece of paper and plastic in it with the person's name, but I don't know who it is now. It's gone. Mostly just marked by stones. This one back here with this pointed marker, look at the depression behind it, where that grave sunk in. I believe this one at one time you could read. Not anymore. It's gone. There's some carving in it, but it's just worn out. Okay, I'm going to read the coordinates so we could add these to find the grave. It's north 38.63002, west 080.53757. You can see how this just drops right off here. They put people at the highest point so they have a shorter journey up above, supposedly. Most of the houses were right down in that direction, in this valley. Okay, we're right behind this, what I thought would be a cellar house or some other type of structure, since these rocks are built up. Looks like a cellar house to me. And right behind it, metal detected this big object, but 8 inches round. It looks like one of those tops to an old metal cook stove, like the lid. Some broken pottery here. Another old wash tub sitting next to some metal here. Let's see what this is. Another tub mashed into the ground. Another tub there. Don't know what that metal was to. Maybe the bottom of a wood-burning stove. And I was walking, look at this. It's an old bottle. It's screw type, but it's still old. It's heavy glass. I bet there was a house right here. Not just because of that junk, but right back here is an old stovepipe. And some square rocks like this was the foundation of a house. Right here. Or some type of structure. Might be another place to metal detect. Kick the moss off this rock. That's about 3 feet long, 1 feet wide, and about 6 inches thick. Clearly foundation to a house or even a chimney. It's hard to say. No, this was quite the unusual find. To me, that looks like one of the ends to an old sewing machine. One of the legs, so to speak. It actually has wheels on it. You can see those. So whatever this was, it wheeled around. Let me show you this house site. I can't move an inch without running into a signal. It's hard to determine which ones to dig and which ones not. Here's just like the last 10 minutes. This big chain, heavy chain, with like these pegs or whatever you would call that on each end. What is that? This unusual bottle, that's like a cork top. I have no idea what that piece of metal there is. The part of a butter knife. Of course, there's zinc lids with the porcelain liner. Another bottle here, bottle there, and this looks like a glass almost. But just everywhere I go, there's metal here. We're at this second cellar house type foundation here that's near that house. And as expected, just everywhere I go are those mason jar lids, ball jar lids, zinc with the porcelain liners, piece of copper beneath it. And then that piece of iron is like a wedge that you would pound into a tree to make sure it knocks over in the right direction. It's got that shape, a wedge, iron wedge. Okay, right down in there is where most of the houses on top of Ware Mountain were at one time. Probably Andy Ware, the old Andy Ware. And this is an old cemetery here. About 300 yards away from the Ware Cemetery itself. You see the stones here. There's a head and a footstone right here. Just about gone. These are really old. Just a couple up here. That's the Elk Valley. We're on Ware Mountain. It's between the Elk and the right fork of the Holly. I never know who these people are. Well, there's actually a carving on that. Can't make it out though. It's facing the wrong way because it's got weathered over the years, but right here was a letter, here was a letter. Sure tell that this was a field at one time with all the small poplars in here, this moss that grows. It's almost like a grassland here. When you metal detect at old house sites, you also find old bottles, the most significant of which is the one on the left, which is a 1962 RC Cola pop bottle, 16 ounces, worth about $10 to $20 on eBay. The others I don't know. Now this looks to be the leg off of one of those treadle-type sewing machines, made about 1900, somewhere in that era.
That's all, folks.